Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the City of Salinas CDBG housing meeting. It is now 4 o'clock. Everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For as long as you can afford it.
Call the meeting order. We'll now go to public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker. I may limit further depending upon the number of speakers. We request that people speaking be considerate of each other and remind themselves they're not to talk on items that are currently on this agenda. Microphone is now open.
Hi, West White, Salinas resident, co-president of the Salinas Monterey County Homeless Union. Regarding 24-hour bathrooms, trying to get that going in the city. We need to legitimize campsites. We need to legitimize people where they're at. If you need to connect them with services, put them on the continuum of care, please do that. At least give them some kind of immunity card where they can get passed over. Because we're creating an awful lot of havoc and we're spending an awful lot of money. Just pushing people around, throwing things in the garbage, calling it trash when it's people's possessions, making them have to buy new, actually putting in more desperate situations, state created danger. We're in Boise, we need to respect that 9th Circuit decision, which includes our state, and obviously nobody really, even the state is having a hard time with that one, and it needs to change. We need to be able to legitimize people somehow. Especially the ones who are behaving and following the rules, we need to reward that behavior, not just sweep them away the same as we do everyone else. It's just really trippy, and I've still not gotten any kind of response back from Manny Martinez, Assistant Chief, and I've bored anybody from City Corporate regarding the 3 videos within 2 weeks where the police kind of been a little more aggressive and a lot of indicators of police brutality, which ended up with, plenty of shootings in the past, and it just kind of goes toward the undertone of the attitude and perceptions of what the city does. When they say one thing, they do another, and they still want to make money, but they don't actually want to follow through with the services that they're supposed to provide, which is how they got the grant money to begin with, and yet we're still doing the sweeps, so it's abuse. It's gaslighting and abuse. We need to stop this. It needs to get better. We need to treat people like people. And, these are our residents, our family, our community. They're United States citizens. They deserve more respect than that.
Thank you, Mr. White.
Hi, I'm Rita Acosta. I just want to say, once again, I don't know if you've been down by Sherman Park lately, but I know we've had sweeps there, and I just want to know that everybody's been working really good together there. The park looks really super good right now, and thank you that we didn't have a sweep for Tuesday, but we're going to get hit with one on Thursday and Friday. And I was just wondering, if we can't have the bathroom open 24 hours, at least in the morning by 7 when they have us get up, would be really nice, because when we get up in the morning, we got to go to the restroom. And this way we can be able to keep the park continue on looking nice and stuff. And also, I know the police department is just doing their job and stuff, but there isn't a place for people to go, and we get really harassed out there where they're telling us to get your stuff together in an hour, you need to be out of here. I'm like, can you please let us know where to go then? That's not our problem. They sent her a video. I was the one who was having the encounter with the police department. And we're human beings. People are human beings, and they should be treated like human beings. I can understand if people are being rude and disrespectful, but if they're not, there's no reason for that kind of attitude or treating people like that. And so again, just need community support and everybody work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Seeing no one else, we'll close public comment, bring back approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of March 12th.
I'd like to approve the minutes.
Second. Anyone in the public would like to comment on this? Seeing no one, everybody in favor? Aye. Okay, we're moving to administrative report. 19208, you're up,
Good
sir.
afternoon, members of the CDBG Housing Subcommittee, CJ Valenzuela, Interim Planning Manager, Community Development Department Housing Division. 3 items today are updates. The first item on the agenda is our California Emergency Solutions in Housing, also known as CASH update. And this is maybe the 3rd or 4th time we brought this to our subcommittee. We've continually given updates as we progress through the proposed timeline. And as for members of the public and as well as the subcommittee, as a reminder, the City of Salinas was authorized as the administrative entity through our continuum of care to be the administrative entity which allows us to directly apply for this funding through the state, which the city was awarded. And we submitted our application back on September 27th of 2018 with an emphasis on, and I just want to remind you that this money can be utilized within both Monterey County and San Benito County. The emphasis for the portion that is to be utilized in Monterey County is specifically targeted toward a new pilot program and within the city of Salinas, covering the Chinatown area and the downtown area. So that was also clearly emphasized in the application that the city submitted to the state. And so when they approved our application along with the budget, you know, that understanding was very clear. In addition, there's 3 eligible activities through this application that was approved predominantly for rental assistance, flexible housing subsidy, and operational support for emergency housing. And then there's a caveat in there, there's another one that is not going to be included. We're not accepting competitive applications for this 4th component. That's why I said predominantly there's 3. But there is an activity that allows for an update of a homeless plan. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail. But there's 3 activities that will be included as part of the future notice of funding availability. That's through rental assistance, flexible housing subsidy, and then the operational support for emergency housing. And then that 4th one there is the homeless plan update, which specifically is going to be utilized for the Lead Me Home Plan update. So the City of Salinas had a open to the public CASH workshop on September 18th of 2018. And there, once again, we re-illuminated conversations and talked a little bit about the pilot program for the portion, for the Monterey County portion of this grant. And we also talked about the San Benito County allocation, because they are getting, proposed to get a smaller amount of money. In addition, there was also a survey that was conducted at this application workshop, and members of the public and those that were in attendance, stakeholders included, selected 3 priority activities, which were those 3 that will be included as part of this NOFA, and that's for operating support, flexible housing subsidy, and rental assistance. Those were the top 3 that were selected for the pilot program. Fast forward, the city received an award letter from HCD on January 11th of 2019, and per HCD regulations, the city and HCD, within 90 days will execute a standard agreement, which is also known as our grant contract. So that should happen relatively in the near future. We have a leadership council meeting tomorrow, March 27th. This item will be on that agenda, along with our state ESG fiscal year 1920 funding. And as far as the Chinatown and downtown pilot program, Chinatown definitely has the largest concentration of homeless in the region. And we also have a lot going on in Chinatown, including a permanent supportive housing project, mixed-use housing project, Moongate Plaza, which will have a total of 90 units, 88 affordable, and some of those units will definitely be carved out for homeless population. We also have other existing resources that are available in the area but are not necessarily aligned. So one of the goals of having a pilot program is to hone in on an area such as Chinatown and also the downtown, and to target and establish a prototype or a model investment in this area based on best practices, and to start a model that has heavy street outreach, has heavy housing navigation, housing location, and leveraging funds into a smaller targeted area which will have a greater dollar reinvestment outflow and hopefully a greater outcome to reduce, the goal is to reduce the homelessness in this target area essentially down to functional zero. And when you look at the cash allocation, it's $1,027,000. You think, wow, that's kind of a lot of money, but when you start slicing it, we'll show you the proposed budget. It's really not a lot of money. So how to best use this money, and starting it off on a smaller scale, best practice prototype was one of the ways that we thought best. So, and of course, and then part of this cash funding, also the City of Salinas, 5% of this grant can be used for administrative purposes. With that, in addition to bringing in more resources into this area, the city is proposing to hire a program manager to oversee the whole, this program specifically, and also to work with the subrecipients that are awarded through this program. In addition, the service providers within these targeted areas to also ensure that the production and outcome is achievable. So the proposed budget is broken out such as you see on this slide, with 5% or $51,364 as being here with the City of Salinas to administer this grant for both Monterey and San Benito County. The three other categories that will be included as part of the NOFA are activity number 1, was the rental assistance, which can include housing relocation, stabilization services, and so on. And that dollar amount is $267,503. The next activity, activity 2, provides flexible housing subsidies for local programs that establish or support the provision of rental subsidies and permanent housing to assist homeless individuals and families. That carve out is almost identical at $267,504. And then activity 3 is the operating support for emergency housing interventions. That's $390,914. And then there's the additional $50,000 that I mentioned in the prior slide that's not being included as part of this NOFA that the city, as the administrative entity, will carry out, and that's for the update or development of the homeless plan. So once you tally up all those, you have a total of $1,027,285. But then once you deduct the administration portion along with the line item for the activity 4, which is the development of the homeless plan, and then you further carve out what's $150,000 for San Benito County based on the 2017 point in time count. That's how this methodology was broken up. That leaves $775,921 available for Monterey County. So that's the proposed breakdown. And that concludes the presentation for the first item.
Do you have any questions, Councilmember, on this portion of the report?
Yes, I have a question. Once we get Pearl, I think is outreach.
The cash program, the proposed cash program for Tina LaBrook.
Tina?
Yeah.
And she's the one that's going to be working with our homeless outreach workers. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, she's actually going to not only with the homeless population, plus the service providers, plus the subrecipients that are directly funded out of this program in those targeted areas. And we were able to hire Tina LaPearl already with general fund money through a separate contract. As she's already on board, she's already working on, on similar activities with other dollars. But once we have the fully executed standard agreement, then we can actually have access to incur cash money, and there'll be a separate contract for her to specifically work on this pilot program. So we have her on board through a separate contract, doing a similar scope, but a little bit different, and then we'll home in as the cash, she'll be the cash program manager with those admin dollars that you saw specifically for this pilot program. So she'll be heavily involved. I mean, this will include, possible weekly meetings, case management meetings, she'll be very involved, yeah.
Mayor. CJ, can you go back to the slide with the, yeah, that's the one. As far as the allotment for dollars in those particular areas, is there some sort of funding requirements that it's a certain percentage, or is there some sort of methodology that the city uses?
There is one caveat for, there's a 40% cap, I believe on this activity number 2, 40% of the overall grant, as far as a percentage threshold. But this breakdown here has been accounted for. This breakdown, this methodology is based on a 2017 point time count breakout, San Bernardino County and Monterey County. Further, then we have to take that 40% cap on activity 2, and then the balance of what we've actually heard from the public and from other stakeholders on those 3 priorities. So we kind of distribute it based upon a combination of that methodology. So that's kind of how we ended up with submitting this budget to the HCD. And this budget actually, with these dollar amounts, has actually been approved by HCD. So we're kind of in that proposal to the leadership council like tomorrow, and then if it goes well, then we're ready to issue the NOFA based upon these proposed dollars. So.
Thank you.
So you know, I've already sent that out to all the mayors and at least give them an idea of what we're asking for. Does anybody in the public like to comment on this item?
I'm Karen Velasquez, and I'm kind of new here. About a year and a half from.
There's a microphone there.
I didn't plan on this. I saw on the billboard yesterday there was a meeting today, and I've been experiencing not even sure to work for it. I'm a little surprised at how the homeless are treated. I was at first very excited to hear that Salinas had what we call a safe parking program. And I thought, wow, cool, this is great. You know, personally, I kind of, on my own time and on my own dollar, help the homeless. It's just something that's silent. I don't belong to any city or organization. But what I'm finding out is that one by one, the tow companies are filling up their yards with motorhomes. And this is alarming to me. I've helped 3 homeless people get back with their family since Thanksgiving. And this last one was sitting in the dark in his motorhome. Long story short, it ended up getting towed, and now I own a motorhome that I never set out to buy. And I've spent way more than this motorhome's worth. It now has the name Charlie Brown, because his name was Charlie. Good news, he's back with his sister, and hopefully he'll be back to doing what he used to do. He used to pull in 5 figures. He used to work as an auto finance manager. He fell hard. I applaud what Monterey does. I do see what they do over there for motorhomes. They're able to park. They have free dumping sites. Awesome. I don't know a whole lot about anything more than Monterey does. I do see that they have parks that they can park at temporarily, as long as they're operational and during the day they're gone. I applaud that. In my opinion, and you know, it's a really old adage, you can feed a man today and he'll be hungry again tomorrow. You can teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. And that's what we need to do.
Thank you.
That's exactly what we need to do.
Yeah.
And it's very, very simple without millions of dollars. I do disagree with that. Yes, some of them are emotionally or mentally incapacitated.
Thank you. We'd be happy to have our staff talk with you and tell you what we've been doing. Maybe it's not perfect, but it's.
We'd like to get more information. Thank
All right.
you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Go.
Go ahead. Seeing no one else, we'll close this one. You need a vote on this, or things?
No, that's
Or is
just an
it a
update.
decision?
Just an update, yeah.
Are you go to number B?
All three, the other two items are also just updates, no action required. So this item here, we brought at the last subcommittee meeting. Once again, we brought it a couple of times. So this is simply just an update on the Housing and Emergency Aid Program, also known as HEAP. And just to let you know that the County of Monterey is going to be the applicant for two applications regarding two different shelters. So they have an application for 855 East Laurel as a capital grant for it's going to be over $5 million, or maybe close to $6 million. And this is for the construction portion to construct a new building on 855 East Laurel for a year-round permanent shelter. The second application that the County of Monterey is working on is a operational grant for approximately $1 million, and that's to continue the operations of the warming shelter located at 111 West Acosta. So I just want to make it clear for members of the public and for the subcommittee that there's two separate applications that they're working on. One for the capital construction for 855 East Laurel, the other one for operations of the warming shelter for approximately $1 million. So that application is due April 1st, right around the corner. So the county is working very hard on both of those components of the application. And so, it's right around the corner. We'll keep you updated once we know, when we hear about the status of their application. So I just wanted to give a quick update on that. I'm available for any questions on this item.
I have a question. Did they apply for a grant to build the one in Seaside? Because I know that there is conversation regarding Seaside as well.
I believe that where they last left off is the county will not apply directly for shelter in Seaside. Rather, a service provider that has been identified will be the applicant for that particular proposal for the shelter in Seaside. So
We know who that is.
that is Community Human Services.
Let's remember some questions.
So is that for youth or for adults or families? But what is this at?
Yeah,
Community human?
Yes, community, that's a good question. I haven't reviewed the application, so I don't know exactly all the scope of what they're proposing on that particular application or where they left off. I don't have the full details on that particular application. We, as staff, we've been kind of working on helping assisting the county with the 855 East Laurel and the operational one. So I don't have the full details if that's just for youth or if that's broad open to families or single, or adult man or adult women. So I don't have the scope on that. So, but we'll definitely know more soon.
When do you know, when the city puts their application, or the county puts their application on the first, when are they going to have the answer on that as far as those two apps?
Typically, typically once they get in, there'll be a rating and ranking process that takes place that's very standard, like our NOFAs and whatnot. So hopefully they'll know within 30 to 45 days whether they're awarded for the capital or the operational or both, at what level they're awarded as well. So like I mentioned on the capital application, it may be upwards of close to $6 million. And on the operational side, it could be $1 million. So hopefully within 30 to 45 days, they'll be notified of the status. Thank you.
Go out to the public. Anyone in the public would like to comment on this item?
I guess I just wanted to mention more about CHS and the shelter, since you mentioned the thing about Seaside. Currently, the one at the warming shelter here on West Alstown is mainly families. So women, and especially since women alive, there's no women alive. So where do women turn? Because they're actually being turned away from the warming shelter as well, because they're not families. So we're picking and choosing our elite selection of population, and everybody else just ends up getting stuck outside, and we have 7 to 7. ordinance is selectively enforced. We have a no camping ban already, or maybe a 7-7, but it's really painful, and we need to do better, because if you look at the balance of how many shelter space and how many population there is, there's no way you can fit everybody inside that shelter anyway. So we really need to revamp the way we're doing things. In fact, a future agenda item would be maybe to relook at the no camping ordinance of 7-7, which is already cruel and unusual punishment, especially selective enforcement, and start revamping that, because the subcommittees usually take on something to bring to the council, and the ordinance would be one of those avenues to do this directly. And I think it does need to be revisited, and we should include the union in that process, because we just need to respect people and proper boundaries and the redirection that we expect from people. Those behaviors should be rewarded. And actually, I thank you very much, Councilmember Biggs, for bringing it up last time about what Rita said about the bathrooms and trying to see if those could be opened earlier, and at least to juxtapose the 7 a.m. get up, even though it's like selective enforcement again for the 7-7 thing. So I mean, we really need to look at how much money are we spending to do what, because are we really accomplishing the goal, or are we even trying? But thank you.
Thank you, sir. We're going to close public comment. We're going to go back to item number C.
And this last item here is also just an update. This is regarding the Housing Development Impact Fee Nexus study that was recently issued on March 14th. And the purpose of this Nexus study is to have a fee structure that is not cost prohibitive predominantly to smaller housing developments, and for the impact fees to be charged based on the actual impact. We believe right-sizing the impact fees to often less expensive housing types would incentivize development of more affordable housing, and the current fee structure is an impediment to smaller scale developments or adaptive reuse of existing buildings. The city largely charges impact fees per unit, except for a few fees which are based upon the number of bedrooms, and considering best practices to encourage housing affordability, the city wants to consider modifying its impact fee schedule based upon square footage and the type of development to encourage more affordable housing. So the proposed RFP for the Development Impact Fee Nexus study has a scope of work similar to like an inclusionary housing ordinance or any other impact fee study, but of course there's got to be extensive data collection and the development of a Nexus study and a feasibility study that goes in concurrency with this. Also, prototypes will be developed based on different size, we're talking about residential housing, so different types of prototypes from higher density, medium density, lower density, and there's also different types, it can be senior housing, so on and so forth. There will be a fee calculation analysis as part of the Nexus study. So a Nexus study essentially shows a range of fees that could potentially be supported. We're talking about development impact fees. What a feasibility study shows is it's a more in-depth analysis which shows what level of those fees within that range is actually, can these fees be feasible for development to continue to occur at the same time. And then there'll be a comparison analysis and table regarding this, comparing other similar size and similar type of jurisdictions that are similar in size and type as Salinas, along with possibly some neighboring jurisdictions as well to compare against. And then we're going to have the consultant take a look at new housing and occupancy categories for the traffic per daily trip impact fees. We got to really take a look at this. If you have a senior housing unit, that's probably going to have lower traffic, impacts than if you had a different type of housing type. And then there will be multiple presentations that will come before the subcommittee, will come before the finance committee, and then to city council once the Nexus study and the feasibility study have been conducted, prepared, drafted, reviewed, and then we'll go from there. So. The RFP was issued on March 14th. The proposal due date is April 15th, and then hopefully we can move forward with awarding a contract tentatively, we're looking at May 17th and then project initiation on May 27th, so kind of on a fast track. Of course, the dates are subject to change, but that's what we're proposing looking at. So with that said, I'm available for any questions. This is just an update, so.
Do we have a timeline after we have someone on board that's doing this study, when we will expect to see some kind of answers?
Yeah, I think-
We'll have some data to work with.
Yeah, as part of the proposal, we are requesting that the applicant or the individuals that will be responding to this RFP do put in a project timeline. So we'll see, we'll work with the selected consultant to take a look at that timeline. Hopefully within a couple months. I mean, hopefully we're seeking an experienced consultant that has experience doing these type of studies, so hopefully we can have that turned around and not prolong it. They should have a good baseline and good precedent for these type of studies. So hopefully within a couple of months we can have a study conducted and be back. So to present something.
Scott, for the public, anyone on the public would like to comment on this item?
Mr. Mayor, Committee Members, Gloria Moore, certainly support this and hope we can move as quickly as it possibly can, because this will be another good tool to use with those that want to develop housing and are restricted by the high costs of what it takes to develop housing. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my first city meeting, so I don't know. Are those studies available to the public, and where can you go to get information about these programs?
Yes, those studies will go through a whole public process. They will be available to the public throughout the entire process. So. And you can contact, I'll give you my card after, and you can contact me. I'll be the project manager for this particular project, so you can contact me and I can add you to the interest list as well. Folks that are interested.
So is this a collaboration through all cities, Monterey, Seaside, and Salinas together?
No, this is the city of Salinas only, yeah. Not this particular.
Seeing no one else, will end that. We'll come back to for future agenda items from committee members. Anyone in the public, someone mentioned they'd like to have a future agenda item?
Yes, I did.
Holding the microphone patiently.
So yes, West White, Salinas, Monterey County Homeless Union co-president. And a future agenda item would be to revisit the ordinance, 16, .030.040.010. These are constant tickets that the people cannot afford to pay. It's already, you can't enforce anything because of Martin versus Boise off the top, because if you have insufficient shelter space, you just can't enforce. So you don't have to provide housing. That's not mandated. You just can't enforce. You can't intimidate, harass, cite, or arrest somebody for being outside under the false pretense that they have a choice in the matter. There's also a lot of belligerence happens. I mean, if the city really cares and you're champions of the homeless, then you need to prove it, because what we're doing on paper and what we say, but yet I've got video evidence of how the attitude and the behaviors, they're not professional, they're not ethical, they're completely opposite.
Yeah, I got your information for the future agenda. Okay. I appreciate it.
I really can't understand why you're even interrupting me. I've only got 2 minutes.
You have a future agenda item, and I wrote it down, and we'll talk about bringing that back to the council, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
So if we do see future enforcement, we do plan on still documenting that, and we do expect there to be a positive change in the way that police interact and visit. I mean, I had one guy come up, and as soon as he saw me with the camera, he turned around and went back to his patrol vehicle and drove off. I mean, what is that? It's just really weird. It's time to behave better.
Okay, that's all the information we have. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.